Good evening, everyone. My name is Johannes Jäger, and I'm so excited to be here with you this evening. I'll be your host, and what a crazy 2.5 weeks it has been. We have Zoom traveled all over the ASEAN region. We were in Malaysia, in Indonesia, the Philippines, Thailand, Vietnam, Pakistan, and now finally we're back here in Singapore. And I couldn't be more excited to listen to all the pitches uh, that are going to be coming up next and hear what the teams have been building over the last 10 weeks. A quick overview of the agenda. We'll start off with welcoming remarks from the AWS country manager in Singapore, followed by the challenge overview, the rules, as well as the jury introduction. We'll then proceed to the pitching session, something we've worked towards for the last 10 weeks, the jury deliberation, and last but not least, the award ceremony and the closing remarks. I'd like to invite Mr. Chubeng, who is the country manager for AWS in Singapore, up on the virtual stage to welcome all of you. Chubeng, how are you doing?
I'm good. Hi everyone. Hope you can see me well. And just want to extend my thanks to everyone who is on the 5 teams who have been who made it here to the finals. Thank you so much for all the effort you put in. You know, I'm sure you're all very excited, and we are equally excited to see all the presentations and demos that you have. And it's opportune that we're doing this on a Thursday evening on a just before a long weekend. So, you all have a good time to celebrate, relax, chill, unpack, and, enjoy the super long weekend after all the hard work you guys have put in. So, the team of judges and I, we've been talking about how excited we are to be able to see all your demos. So looking forward to it. Thanks.
Great to have you here again with us. For those of you that are joining us online, be this on Facebook, be this on Instagram or on Twitter, the official event hashtag is hashtag AWS Hackathon. Post your best moments, post your questions. We'd love to hear what you think. And just to quickly step back on sort of why are we running this event? Why are we running an AWS Hackdays? And it's really about building the future of our regions, utilizing the power of technology. We have 4 themes in which the teams are going to be competing. We have automation, learning and development, security, and sustainability. Over the 10 weeks, we had over 160 participants joining in the Singapore track. So all of you are the R winners. You are the top some percent of this region. So big congratulations to all of you. You already made it all the way. And now it's about finding out which is going to be the team that is going to be representing Singapore in the ASEAN finals. A quick reminder about the rules. Each team will have 5 minutes to pitch, followed by 3 minutes of Q&A. Once you're in the 4th minute of your pitching time, you'll hear the following sound. When you hear this sound, you have another minute remaining, after which we'll then cut you off to move into the Q&A session to make sure everyone gets equal opportunities. A quick reminder about the judging criterion. The judges are going to be looking at 4 factors. Firstly is how innovative is your solution? Is this something we've seen in the market already? Is this something we've seen at hundreds of other hackathons? Or is it something that's quite unique and creative? Secondly is, what is the business potential of what you're building? Are we just building great technology, or are we building technology that solves actual problems and that can be scaled in the economy? Thirdly, this being an AWS hackathon, is how well did you integrate the AWS services? And last but not least is team complementarity. How complementary is your team? Do you have the skills to take this project further? Today we'll have 2 prizes to give away. The first runner-up will walk away with $400 in cash. And the winner will not only receive $2,000 in cash, they will also be invited to the final Hack Days happening in early August to compete against the other 6 regional winners for a cash prize of $20,000. So lots of exciting prizes, but an equally exciting panel of judges. We have Chubeng, who we've just met already. We have Kapil, who is a solution architect at Amazon Web Services. Arti, who is also a solution architect at Amazon Web Services. And Steve, who is the community hero for AWS in Singapore, and he's also at Horangi. Maybe I'll have each of you maybe spend about 30 seconds to quickly introduce yourselves to the rest of the team. Shebang, please.
So hi, like I said, I want to thank everybody for putting all the effort. I've been in AWS now for the last 4 years, and I'm really excited to see all the different solutions and innovations that all our customers and our all the developers out in Singapore are building for um, all the problems that we're trying to solve across, not just in Singapore, but across the world. So looking forward.
Thank you. Kapil.
Hi, everyone. My name is Kapil, and I'm a solutions architect with AWS. And I love technology. I love getting my hands dirty with the latest and greatest in technology, and more importantly, solving real world challenges using technology. So very excited to be here and to looking forward to look at all the exciting demos that you have built. All the best.
Arti.
Hey, hi everyone. I'm also a solutions architect, but these days I work pretty closely with some of our late-stage startup customers. But I've done various other developer roles in the past. But I've been with AWS 3.5 years now. And I think like Kapil, I'm also pretty excited and looking forward to the demos you have.
Thank you. And Steve?
Hey, hi everyone. Sorry, a bit of disruptions in the background. Yep. So just excited to see everyone's projects. I actually had a sneak peek at some of the projects. Yeah, they all look interesting. This is my third year actually judging this series of hackathons. So just looking forward to hear all the ideas and energy that's going around later on. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much to the four of you for joining us on this Friday of sorts for this demo day. We'll have 5 teams pitching today. Team Learned, which is competing in the learning and development track. Team Hail, which is also competing in the learning and development track. Team Badoop in the security track. BYRD in sustainability. And Team Forecast, also in the sustainability track. With that being said, we'll now move into the second part of the evening, which is the pitching. To all the teams, don't freak out, stay calm, have fun. You're already a top team. And I'm sure all of you will enjoy the show. With that being said, I'd like to invite Team Learned up on stage to share your screen and showcase to us what you've built over the last 8 weeks. Team Learned.
Hi, everyone. Let me get my presentation ready. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes, it's perfect.
That's great. Okay. So, hi, everyone. We are a team of educators and developers, and we are excited to kickstart this whole series of presentation by sharing with everyone our education platform. At the mention of assessment, one of the instinctive things that most people think of will be exams. And with exams comes grades, and with grades comes stress. So let's take a look at what's happening around. In Singapore, MOE has announced the removal of mid-year exams for many levels in order to make room for holistic development. And of course, this topic is widely discussed globally, as shown here. Let's examine the current assessment model. Over the months, learners experience high stress during exam seasons. As such, we are proposing that assessment should not be conducted passively, throughout the learning process and not at the end of it. Hence, introducing Learn, which is a Q&A platform that actively facilitates learners in peer learning, as well as assists educators in diagnosing learning gaps and in grading. Here's the learning process. Firstly, the educators will create the class and enroll his or her students. Learners can freely raise questions, offer answers, and share comments. Learn will analyze this data and generate a score based on the rubric that is decided by the educator. And more importantly, useful information is gathered from this analysis, such as common misconceptions, will be highlighted. Therefore, we can summarize the 3 main areas that we are leveraging on tech as accessibility, as every learner with a smartphone can now access help outside of lesson time. Quality of teaching and learning, as helpful information gathered from analysis are surfaced for follow-up, as well as convenience in the form of automated assessment for educators and quick access to credible answers for the learners. Here's our quick video demo.
You have to share your sounds, please, or you want to do a voiceover.
I realized that there isn't sound because I forgot to enable the sound, but I think that is okay. So moving on top of the speed and stability, on top of speed and stability, the whole suite of services that AWS provide makes it an obvious choice. So we are relying on virtual private cloud to house the multiple components of the application together securely. And on our front end, Amazon S3 will be used to house our Vue.js, while Amazon QuickSight will help to analyze the data and present customizable insights to the users for actions. And for the backend, we will use Amazon Document DB to store, query, and index our JSON files while relying on AWS machine learning for analysis. And at the same time, we will use Elastic Beanstalk to help maintain high availability and scale as and when required with minimum effort. And further down the pipeline, we will hope to apply Amazon API Gateway to expose our API and integrate learning analytics for future applications. Here's a more detailed map of our AWS architecture with the data in the form of text or pictures, which are uploaded by the users via Learn or LMS platform. They will be processed using the Amazon text track and recognition before being sent to Amazon Comprehend for natural language processing. After which, we'll run the data through our analytics model and generate actionable follow-ups for the users. Just a quick introduction about ourselves. We have Min, who has a master's in education and is responsible for developing our learning analytics. I'm Roy, and I apply my 5 years of teaching experience, to ensure that we make a product that educators and learners love. And we have Ting Yu, who is our tech and business guy, and he supports us with his financial knowledge as well as his tech expertise. And finally, we have Ting Xian, who is our go-to developer, especially in terms of mobile development. And one fun fact is that our team actually assembled over a hackathon, Startup Weekend Singapore 2020. Now let's examine the business side of our platform. Most products in market enables collaborative learning, but none of them provide learning analytics. Yeah, so as such, Learn will hope to transform assessment and education through the application of learning analytics on a collaborative discourse. EdTech is projected as the next fintech with an estimated global worth of $76.4 billion and a growth rate of 18.1%. And global EdTech investment in 2019 has amounted to $18.6 billion. And Piazza, our closest competitor in terms of question and answer, has been estimated to worth between 10 to 50 million US dollars. As such, as an innovation within a fast-growing market, we have great confidence in the business opportunity of our platform. And in terms of pricing and monetization, we are going for the subscription model as shown here. We will reach out to both educators as well as institution. And for the institution package, we'll include collaborative features such as the sharing of Q&A as well as diagnostic tools for organization and review. And finally, we have 3 channels.
Unfortunately, that's all the time we have. Great job, team learned. I know being first is not always the easiest, but I'd like to now open the floor for questions from our panel of judges.
Can I go first?
Go
yes,
ahead.
Please.
Sure. So one question I have is, how do you plan to kind of personalize some of the using the analytics? How do you plan to personalize the learning experience?
Okay, so the data that we are collecting are based on contributions, their pattern of activity, and also the way they undergo the discourse during the Q&A. So with that, we are using 4 measures to measure how they are doing. So there are 4 measures. The first one is their participation. Then we are measuring the quality of their response, how they are contributing in the community, meaning like how much of a team player they are, and also their personal growth, meaning how did they change in terms of their activity. So in these 4 measures, we are having different data points to triangulate for each measure. And with how they are performing overall, we are going to reflect individual students' learning performance to the students so that they can see how they are performing at different periods of time. This data is also provided to the teachers, so the teachers can also see how they can intervene and help the students at different periods of time. We are also automating some things. For example, if we notice that the participation level for certain students are not very high, we are going to push notifications such that it encourages them to contribute more to the platform in that sense. Yeah, so that is just an example of what we are planning to do.
Yeah, maybe I just add on to that. We're also hoping to play a more active role above and beyond just being a platform, like what Min has mentioned, right? We are hoping to use assessment as a means to attract them onto the platform, but really we want to reward all the actions that are positive in terms of learning. So for example, when students help to answer their peers' questions, then we will send them little words of thanks and encouragement to reward all these positive behavior. So we will shift it away from assessment into the progress of learning. Yeah.
I just had a follow-up question. I think Min briefly covered it on the participation, right? How are you going to incentivize? So I think if you're going to start grading them, I'm just wondering if you're moving the pressure from the exams to kind of their participation on the platform. So do you feel this will be inclusive for everyone?
Yeah. So in relation to that, we are thinking that large-based exams are going to be very, very stressful. So by breaking it up into smaller bite-sized tests is ultimately still a test, which is what we are doing right now. But
all right, unfortunately, all the time we have. Thank you so much, Team Learned.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you, everyone.
Really great job. And just for those that are joining us online, I mean, you have to consider that these projects started as an idea somewhere in the last 10 weeks, maybe less, maybe more. And going from that all the way to a prototype is very, very impressive. So great job, Team Learned. Up next, we have Team Hail, which is also competing in the learning and development track. Team Hail, please.
All right, let me just share my screen.
Please.
Is this sharing?
Yes.
Cool.
You may
Ronnie,
start.
are you there as well? Ronnie, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, cool. Let's begin. Hi, everyone. We are Hill. We are very humbled to be here today. I want to start by telling you a story. So imagine you're all prepared to do an all-nighter to complete an assignment, and all of a sudden you hear a loud cry and it threw you off totally. The next morning, you head over to your neighbor's home to confront them, and you're greeted by this extremely cute baby. At that very moment, all that anger dissipated, and you were totally fine, right? So I'm sure all of us had an experience where we had an initial dislike of a person, but that changed once we actually meet the person face to face. We realized that we need to apply this same experience to tackle the social integration issues in migrant workers in Singapore, and therefore we built Hail. So Hail is basically a video telephony app which allows for short form conversations while powering it with machine learning. We want to focus on learning a new language because we feel that in order to understand someone, we need to first understand and learn their language and culture. A few key features to highlight. So it's a 5-minute micro conversation that will end after the activity concludes. We use facial and speech recognition to provide feedback on core quality and improve learning outcomes. Through machine learning, we take all that feedback and improve user experience over time. And we also hope to solve the age-old problem of tutor-learner compatibility issue. This problem has wider impact around the whole education space, and therefore the implication of solving this has really large application. We are super optimistic on the business potential because we feel that the market is sizable. We have about 1.5 million foreign workers in Singapore. If you look at other markets, the number is really promising as well. We also feel that the market is prime because of the current job market incident. People are more willing to upskill themselves. And also because of social issues has risen due to social isolation because of COVID-19. And also the social cohesion issues evident in the recent Black Lives Matter in the US. Looking into the future, the VC market is growing and continues to grow to 50 billion by 2026. We aim to take a piece of that. Our future plans encompasses a 3-phase strategy. So first, by tackling the social integration issues within migrant workers in Singapore, before expanding it to other social segments in other markets, after which we want to leverage all the learning and data to be the world's education platform. We have 3 main revenue streams. We want to start by using advertising because that's what we are most familiar with. Breaking it down, we estimate each user to generate about $10 per year and cost us about $7.54 per year. Taking that earlier 1.5 million users as an example, that would give us about 4.3 million in annual revenue. Enough about numbers. Let's go into the exciting part, which is the demo, which Ronnie will take us through.
Okay, I'm going to go through our demo. So we have a working prototype, but we'll be using screenshot to make things simpler on PC. So this is the launch screen, and from here you can see that we are using language learning as an objective. This screen itself also provides more preference setting that will be used as addition signals. Next, I'm going into some details on some of the highlighted features we implemented. First thing is activity panel. These microactivities serve as objective to accomplish in this chat. We want to provide materials to avoid awkward silences, which can be triggered by conversation gaps. Using voice recognition, we can also concoct some fun interaction. For example, in this case, we are trying to get the user to find out each other's names using as many specified words as possible. Apart from that, we'll be utilizing facial recognition to analyze positive or negative interaction. So in cases of distress or in situations where violent speech is being used, we'll prompt or force the user to disconnect. Ultimately, we'll be using all these signals and feedbacks to improve our matchmaking as well as mini activities. So a quick rundown on architecture. Going from left to right, we have the standard Amazon services to deploy static resources as well as API call. This is followed by some critical component. So we want to find the best user combination available in an allocated time window while the users are waiting in queue. Due to the complexity of human interaction with so many various variables, we'll be utilizing machine learning to accomplish this. Of course, we understand this is going to be a challenge of finding the right model with the correct signal. The last part is on video session. This is going to rely heavily on Amazon Chime, which is unsurprisingly going to be the bulk of the cost. But for privacy reasons, we would prefer to have both voice and facial tracking units sitting on the client side. But as a last resort, when it is not available, we'll be utilizing Amazon recognition, transcribe, and available through Lambda.
Just capping off of who we are. So I'm Dylan, I will handle the business side, whereas Ronnie handles the tech side. As you can see, we have really complementary skill sets. We feel that we have the passion, necessary skills, and a proven track record to make this solution a reality. So thank you so much. We'll be taking questions now.
Thank you so much, Team Hale. Any questions from our judges? Maybe Steve or Chibang?
So you mentioned the use of SageMaker to do the matchmaking, right? What kind of data or model are you going to use on that side?
This is something that we are still in discovery mode. So currently the data that we are going to collect is included the facial feedback. How confident are they in like performing like the happiness reaction, or they are neutral, or they are being focused. So we're going to try to match this together with also the tutor reaction as well. Combine that with the result from the activities. So like, for example, if you perform an activity where they need to say a certain words to find out like what is your occupation, those results from those activities will also be fed into the model. And then ultimately we also, based on the feedback from the user itself. So if the user, post call to like, I rate this call like 5-star, 4-star, for example, will also be taken into the consideration together with preferences. So like, for example, we can say in like learning preference, I'm an intermediate, I'm looking to learn English. And then from another user who is at English advanced level. So we'll try to see like which one give us the best optimal result. And of course, we also need to take into consideration like how much time do we have to pair them up? Like how many users are available during the session itself? Like how many users are learner and tutor? All this information.
Okay, and you mentioned like with the revenue stream itself, like how are you going to exactly attract tutors to come onto the platform? You mentioned
yeah, the first part itself, I think we need to in order to get the starting to come in, is we need to approach NGO. So with NGO, they definitely need to reach out to those migrant workers. They definitely need a platform to interact with the migrant workers as well. And from the past COVID situation, right, we can see there's actually quite a number of volunteers who want to help out. But unfortunately, they don't have the time commitment. And we want to give them like 5 minutes a day, which they don't even need to commit like too much time. So they can actually come on board, just throw in like 5 minutes a day, 10 minutes a day, together with the NGO managing the platform itself, so that they can actually spread it to the different community and have them come on board. Again, the English learning skill set is quite important to them, because they once they start to learn English, they also upskill themselves. So by upskilling themselves, they have a better market value, and they can find like a better job opportunity as well.
Maybe one last quick question. No further questions. All right. Fantastic job, Team Hale.
Thank you
Up
so
next,
much.
we have Team Badoop
All right.
competing in the security track. Team Badoop, it's looking very crowded over there.
It's very cozy.
Can you hear us?
We hear you loud and clear, yes.
Sorry, 1 second. It's not showing. Oh no. Give us 1 second.
No worries.
Just close it again. Try the outro. You close this? I think. Close this. Yeah.
I guess that's one thing about technology, is always consistent. It will always fail you when you need it the most.
Sorry about that. I'm not sure why we can't seem to share the presentation
yeah,
slide.
okay,
Okay,
It's
it's up.
all good.
Okay,
Perfect. Yes, we see your screen.
nice.
All right. Can we begin?
Sure, go ahead.
All right. So hi everyone. Thank you all for taking the time to be here today. And together we're very excited to share with you a little bit more about Team Badoop. So get familiar with our faces, because I just want to introduce my absolutely incredible team. We have Gabriel over here, who is a software engineer from Goldman Sachs. Myself, I'm a solutions engineer from Salesforce. We have Javin, who is an investment analyst from ST Telemedia, and Zul, who is a firefighter with the Civil Defense Force. And together we make up Team Badoop. So let me just share with you a little bit more about the inspiration behind our product. Right. So what you see here are some examples of the true state of women out there today, right? Facing violence, stalking, as well as assault. These are the ground realities right now on the street. And many a time, in midst of such an encounter, freezing of the brain inhibits actually movement. And it's also very difficult to communicate to seek help without actually alarming the perpetrator. And such, in such cases, you are really stuck and your chances of survival are very low. And so this brings us to our problem statement of how can we actually protect victims in danger by helping them to communicate without alarming the perpetrator, thereby improving women's physical security with technology. Because this is truly an epidemic that we need to solve, right? With 1.6 million people losing their lives every year to violence. And the big question is, what if we could actually change this? So this actually drove us together to create the solution Badoop, which is a smart IoT and mobile rescue security solution that actually leverages on personalized physiological reactions, which are bodily reactions, to sense danger and provide immediate help.
So Badoop consists of two parts, an IoT wearable and an accompanying mobile app. Imagine a woman walking home in the middle of the night alone. She's suddenly approached by a man with a knife. Badoop will detect a sudden surge in heart rate and abnormal body motions and be placed on standby. If she does not respond within a set period of time, the Badoop app will trigger the emergency protocol in AWS, notifying her loved ones that she is in trouble. Here's our heart rate prototype, an Arduino with an inbuilt accelerometer to detect struggle, connected to a heart rate sensor, and our React Native app on a mobile phone. Without further ado, here's our demo video. The IoT device is able to monitor the wearer's baseline as seen in application. And next, we will have a little shock. The MQTT client broker shows the information of the vital signs. Due to the sudden spike in heart rate, the mobile app will proactively trigger the emergency protocol, sending an SMS to her loved ones. So what happens under the hood? The Badoop app can send 2 notifications to AWS endpoint through HTTP or using MQTT via IoT core. Either of these will trigger Lambda function, which will enrich the information and put it into DynamoDB. DynamoDB streams will trigger another Lambda function that uses AWS SNS to notify loved ones. Also, if voice recording is enabled, the app will also start recording once it is triggered, sending sound recordings to an API endpoint as well. The sound recordings will be processed by Amazon Transcribe, the transcript being sent to loved ones too. We can also use Amazon Comprehend to do further NLP on the transcribed text. Moving to the Badoop business strategy.
Right, so there are 3 areas that I'm going to cover, beginning with market analysis. So right now, you realize that there isn't a solution out there that truly tackles the root of the problem. And this is where Badoop fills the gap, being the only smart, proactive, as well as affordable solution out there. And speaking of affordability, this brings me to my second point about the Badoop cost structure as well as growth. So over here, you can see that when we created Badoop, we actually kept in mind that we want to keep it affordable, because safety is for everyone. And what we want to be able to do is to scale across into emerging countries, making it highly accessible. And as for our growth model, there are 3 areas, which are device sale, mobile application downloads, as well as being able to actually partner with existing wearables out there in the market to actually complement the app. And so essentially, this flexibility means that it will be made accessible for all. Right, and moving on to the most exciting part, what are our next steps and what is our growth strategy? Right, so today's situations are never ideal, and this is exactly what Badoo is being created for. Such encounters could occur in parks, deserted areas, and what we want to use is the LoRaWAN network in order to allow the wearables to directly speak to hubs. And looking ahead, what we want to do is to truly create a strong partnership ecosystem, right? To be able to, for example, work with some networks to act as first responders as well. And if you were to take a step back, you will realize that the Badoo solution is highly scalable across different use cases, such as construction working, and also, for the elderly. So to round it up, Badoo is truly, a unique solution, a smart IoT device, and a solution that is able to be AI-driven as well as proactive to support and use bodily functions to actually help and seek help. And what we want to do is to empower women to no longer be afraid, to be able to do what they want, knowing that Badoo is there to protect them. And with that, thank you very much. I really hope that you enjoyed our presentation as much as we enjoyed working on this. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you so much, and super well rehearsed, team. Any questions from the judges?
Yeah, I have a question. So how do you all think about the manufacturing, the design, the manufacturing, and the production of your IoT device, and why would you not go first with a software approach using existing hardware that most people already are using in terms of the wearables that they have?
Right. So actually, we do it in a couple of ways. I hear you. So first of all, I think we'll look forward to actually partnering with wearables out there right now. So with that will be actually a software approach, like you mentioned, and this will allow people with existing wearables in order to actually download our app, and that will be able to sync together. So, but then we also kept in mind, thinking about how we might want to actually scale across to some countries that may not have wearables that are so popular right now. And so this is where we actually want to be able to provide, a really simple, device that still does its job, right? And, that actually brings me to the point about affordability, whereby we want to make it, cost friendly, and, right now, actually, some of the solutions are like, $200, and that's definitely not acceptable. And so that's where we actually come from. So yeah, but, you raise a perfect point there. Thank you for that.
I had a question. I think a topic that comes up often with wearable or IoT devices is around data privacy and security. So kind of, have you thought through that perspective, and how would you protect users' data?
Exactly what is the concern with the data privacy specifically, if I could just probe a little?
Sure. So anytime you're collecting data around health, or in this case, I mean, when someone's in a compromising situation, that's probably, data people don't want exposed accidentally. And with IoT devices, sometimes I think there are lots of studies on how they can be hacked as well. So how would you kind of handle that in your solution?
So of course, when we let's say we choose to record information and let's say put into like SageMaker and all that, one definite part is that we're definitely going to ensure that anonymity is preserved. So what happens is that information coming in will not really be not tied to a particular account or even a particular user. Because this, for any sort of generic like machine learning, this is what we can do to prevent any issues about that. But of course, like another thing that we can do is that there's actually, we also found a lot of information about a lot of like edge processing that can be done. They can already pre-process information in the first place and like anonymize information before you even send it to the server. And what that does is that you can make information anonymous, and even like not even to be at risk in the network traffic. So you can even anonymize data even before you send it over to the server for it to be used for any further other reasons. So that's how we did think about this, and these are some of the few things that we thought about that we found out that was pretty interesting.
Does that answer your question?
Yep, thank you.
Right.
Thank you.
You are saved by the gong. All the time we have. Thank you so much, Team Badoo. Really cool. Great job. For those of you that are just joining us online, this is the AWS Hackdays demo day for Singapore, which said 3 amazing teams pitched their projects that they have built over the last 10 weeks. And up next, we have Team Bird in the sustainability track. Team Bird, please.
All right. Hi. Just
Hello.
1 second to just make sure that everything is running right.
Sure.
Thank you. Oops. Okay. Sure. Can you see this?
Yes, we do. You may start.
Okay. Okay. All right. So, good evening, everyone. We're Team Bird, and we're super happy to be here with you today. But before we begin, can I get everybody to think about the last time you actually dined out now that it's phase 2? You probably had some delicious food, something that looks like something in the photos here. But what you do not see is a huge underlying problem, and that up to a quarter of all food in F&B kitchens is actually thrown away. And that is extremely bad news for both environment and business. So Singapore alone generates more than 700 million kilograms of food waste every year. And globally, food waste accounts for approximately 10% of methane and carbon dioxide emissions, both very harmful greenhouse gases. Now for businesses, food is very expensive and the F&B industry is already very tight on margins. So what food waste means is that it could be the difference between a net profit, loss, or even closure. We present to you Bird, one-stop food waste management system that leverages on the powers of IoT and machine learning. We have a hardware and software component to this. For the hardware, it comprises of a weight sensor and a camera that can be mounted onto any commercial bin. When food waste is thrown away, what happens is that the weight is measured, a picture of it is taken, and then our machine learning algorithm automatically classifies the type of food waste. And all these useful information is then fed into the web application. And now once the user logs into the web application, what they can see is a 360-degree view of the waste situation in their kitchen, total wastage, what's the top waste items, and something more granular, which is weekly performance, waste composition. Very importantly, clients can get actionable business insights. For instance, this recommendation report where we give them optimized order quantities that they should place with their food suppliers in the coming month. We believe that we are very proud to be powered by AWS. So our app is actually built with React and Node, and we adopted the serverless framework. We use Amazon S3 to host static web resources such as HTML, CSS, and image files, which are loaded in the user's browser and serves it through CloudFront. AWS Amplify provides the framework to use AWS services and add cloud-based features such as Amazon Cognito. When we fetch data, we hit the API from API Gateway, which proceeds to run the function on Lambda, and the function will query DynamoDB and return the data. We use CloudWatch to log our Lambda functions and facilitate debugging. So on the right side, the hardware, when the food waste is photographed, Raspberry Pi sends this image to Amazon Recognition for classification. Together with the weight detected by the weight sensor, these information will be uploaded to DynamoDB. In the event our machine learning model cannot confidently predict and classify the food, the image is sent to Amazon Mechanical Turk for manual labeling, and this will update the type of food waste on DynamoDB and return the labeled image to our custom model for better prediction in the future. But will have a profound impact on environment and business, as users can decrease food waste by 40 to 70% at a fraction of what will cost them. And that's great news for both environment and for business. We are a scalable innovation with high business potential, even after adjusting for the impact of COVID. Southeast Asia's F&B industry has a potential to grow at 5% CAGR to $162 billion in 2024. With the newly injected further volatility into food situations, it is increasingly important to reduce and manage food waste for restaurants. But it's uniquely tailored to the local F&B environment. Through our interviews with industry leaders, we understand that the region is home to one of the most diverse F&B landscapes in the world. So a one-size-fits-all solution does not work here. Furthermore, there is a lack of tech-savvy labor within our kitchens and a high labor turnover rate in Southeast Asia, especially Singapore. So what we need is something that is nimble, lightweight, and customizable for our clients and promises maximum automation while requiring minimal staff involvement and training, and that's Bird. So pricing-wise, we are an enterprise solution that is driven based on the number of kitchens and volume of food per kitchen, as that determines how hard our machine runs. If we start in 2021, given revenue and cost drivers, our first annual profit comes in 2023, and we break even in that year or 1 year later. Bird is brought to you by a diverse team of builders and strategists. Brian has both research and commercial experience with machine learning. I come from a background of consulting and startups. Ryan is a software developer and product manager, and Daniel is a full stack developer. So thank you so much for your time. We are excited to be here and we're excited to take any questions.
Thank you so much, Bert. Any questions from our panel?
So let me ask a question. In the photo that you showed, the device that you have created, it's like a bucket with a camera and a weighing scale, right? And you are expecting that the waste food will be placed in that. A lot of times, food will be packed inside something. Have you thought about how you would handle that situation and classify the food correctly?
So thank you for the question. Because we are looking at how restaurants dispose of food, in particular, like after a customer is done with their food and we're trying to clear their leftovers, so they will actually be putting that into the bin, so we are able to see it without any packaging.
And there will be a bit of a minor coordination with the restaurant to ensure best results. Of course, we'll recommend them to throw away the food items in separate rounds, so that best ensures that they get the right prediction and classification. And that is all that they need to change for their day-to-day activities.
Any other questions from our panel?
Have you all tried it for yourself, like with a demo and stuff like that? Like what happens with raw materials as well as cooked food, right? And then are you able to kind of like turn back cooked food into the raw materials that went into them, and figuring out how this would go back into the raw materials that you propose in the reports that you had?
Right. So thank you for the question. So we've done that. We've actually tried it on like a raw tomato, and the recognition service, the model provided by AWS Recognition was able to classify it with a high confidence. And we've also tried it on about 20 to 30 other dishes as well. And it seems to be doing pretty well for us right now. Yeah.
Cool. Maybe one quick final question. No further questions? All right. Fantastic job, Team Bird.
Thank you.
Up next, we have our final team, Team Forecast, in the sustainability track. And while that team gets ready, I'd like to remind the judges to, on the AWS platform, click validate once you've scored the project, so that we have all the scores for the deliberation round, making sure that it goes smoothly. Without further ado, Team Forecast, please take it away.
Thank you. Are you guys able to hear me?
Yes, we hear you and we see your screen.
All right, awesome. Okay, so good evening to the judges and everyone who is tuning in now. We are Team Forecasters and we aim to create a safer and sustainable future using AI. The world we live in today has greatly benefited from the effects of globalization, allowing our vast 7.8 billion population to be so deeply interconnected. But globalization does have its shortcomings as seen over the past few months. The COVID-19 pandemic had ravaged the global population and economy. Now, having boxed ourselves into a world where COVID could easily spread from one to another. But how can AI help us to prepare for future pandemics? Over the advances of science, we have shifted from older complex models to simpler ones. Just like how the old Earth-centered model was superseded, we believe that AI is the future of modeling viral mutations. The history of science is the history of compression progress. And for that reason, we hope to simplify and abstract the process of modeling viral mutations for the pharma and healthcare sectors. By open sourcing our data for all research institutions, we can accelerate the pace at which companies can develop vaccines. By combining the results of recent research papers, we built GeneBox, a cloud-based application to assist bioinformatic researchers in predicting viral genome mutations and its associated pandemic risk, using a newly developed attention-based neural network model called Temple. We then aggregated all the relevant data within a dashboard. And as for our prototype, we modeled the H5N1 virus by focusing on one of its 8 RNA sequences, which dictates how the virus replicates its binding sites and also its speed of transmission. Following the paper, we encoded the strains to numerical vectors using an NLP-derived method called PropVec, and produced time series clusters using k-means to map the evolutionary pathways. This time series of the strains is then fed into a filter and a context layer, which helps the network perceive positional information and contextual correlations between the amino acids responsible for binding site replication. By combining the statistical methods with support vector machines, we simulated what previous epitope sites would mutate into and scored the new strains according to their pandemic risk. Yushan will now be following up more on our platform's architecture.
Thanks, Marcus. Now we'll look at our application architecture using AWS. This is our current architecture for our prototype, using step functions to manage our serverless backend, and deploying our static frontend using Amplify. This is phase 1, and heading to phase 2, we'll deploy a paid API for users to input their custom genetic strains to get their predictions from our models. We'll then use AWS Cognito and API Gateway to manage the user authentication for the API and use Elastic Inference to scale our backend accordingly to the traffic. We changed to EC2 for web hosting as we are now deploying a dynamic dashboard for each user. Moving on to phase 3, we'll scale to petabytes worth of data when including multiple different genetic sequences. In this phase, we'll deploy AWS EMR and Glue to manage and reduce the dataset size for the backend and use Elastic Load Balancer and CloudFront to scale the front end. Following the timeline on the left, we aim to deploy an MVP by 3 months and the final product by the end of a year. Now we look at the business opportunities for our application. Our team decided to go for a dual license model. Similar to MongoDB, we aim to be self-sustainable in covering our research costs using our commercial license. We also promote research by open sourcing pre-trained predictive models, similar to Hugging Face pre-trained language models, but in the context of bioinformatics. For open source, we use GPL license to promote research, as our team believes that efforts towards improving global healthcare should not be behind a paywall. We believe that there shouldn't be a price tag for saving lives. For our commercial license, we will offer corporate users our paid API for ease of use, as well as technical support for them to develop their models in-house. This allows us to be self-sufficient in terms of covering costs for development. As students of NTU, we can liaise with leading researchers, including the team that developed Tempo. And we believe that with our position as students, we can accelerate our deployment of Gymbox to production. Now I'll be showing a prototype demo of our front end. Thank you. We'll be heading towards our FAQ portion now.
Thank you so much, team Forecast. Any questions from a panel?
Yeah, so I have a question. Hi. So help me understand, who is your target market? Means who are the customers and the profile of the companies that are going to be able to use your application?
Okay, so our target audience is actually, there's 2 areas of our target audience. One is the research side. So the bioinformatics researchers who are pushing the boundaries of using AI to help predict future genetic strains, mutations, so to improve healthcare as a whole, as well as using these genetic strains that they have predicted. One of the big areas is the vaccine manufacturers. So they actually use these genetic strains and then they find the sites, the epitope sites. This is where the vaccines actually target these epitope sites to bind into them so that it kind of prevents future infections. So predicting these epitope sites as well as their mutations will help vaccine manufacturers improve on their future vaccines, because we're helping them to predict the future possible mutation strains.
Maybe I can add on a bit to that. Currently, the limitations with bioinformatics is that most of the strategies in predicting gene sequences are all statistical inferences. So we just look at the past trends and then infer based on the frequencies. But realistically, this is not an accurate kind of approach that we should take. So we are really trying to open source all the data that we can pull and to train on our servers. And by open sourcing all these models, we hope to promote a sense of research enthusiasm for even in the public, or especially for the developers.
Any other questions?
Yeah, the temple is a neural network architecture, right? What's the data that you will be using to train the model with this architecture?
So we have two primary sources of data. One of them, which we use here, is for H5N1 data. Is from the influenza database. Essentially, what it is it's a CSV file of the past 40 years, and within each year is the concatenated strains of the amino acids. So that's our main source of data. We also reference from another paper which helps to score the pandemic risk. But in the future, we also plan to have our own scoring table, as we feel that each of the strains are different from the other different viruses. So let's say for the HIV virus, it will be fundamentally very different from the influenza virus, and the scores should not be transferable. So in that sense, we have two main sources of data. One is from online data banks. The other is through in-house data pooling and processing them.
And do you plan to let the researchers bring their own data as well, or do you simply offer them the option to choose one of your own data sources?
Yes, actually for our business model, we've got two approaches. So one of them is the free open source version, where we have a model that's available for anyone that wishes to use that. However, if a company wishes to implement their own data, we also have a cloud cluster for them to train.
I need to be the evil one and catch you off here. We want to make sure that we're fair to all the teams, but thank you so much. Great job to team forecasters. We've just heard 5 amazing pitches from the Singapore teams. Congratulations to everyone. I'm now going to be taking the judges into a virtual deliberation room to decide who are going to be our top 2 teams for Singapore. So get a glass of water, freshen up, but don't go too far away. We'll be back in about 10 to 15 minutes. Wow, what an intense deliberation round we had, but we're back. We're back with the results. And I can't wait to announce who are going to be the top teams that are going to be awarded this evening. So please join me in doing a sort of a virtual drum roll for the first runner-up. The first runner-up for the Singapore AWS Hackdays 2020 is Team Learn. All your hard work paid off. Now for the winning team, what we like to do is actually have everyone unmute themselves so that we can do the drum roll. And please, for those of you that have turned your camera off, turn your cameras on. We want to be catching your reaction for when we announce the winning team.
Wow, so stressed.
Few of you will still have the cameras turned off. All right, Dylan, TY, Min,
Awesome.
looking at you. Steve?
还要我自己开哦。
All right, are we all ready to hear who's the winning team of the Singapore edition for the AWS Hackdays? All right, the winning team is the one and only Badoo! Congratulations! You got the winner. Finals happening in August 2020.
It's crazy. Sorry, I'm
No. Stay unmuted. Say a few words. Share how you feel. Don't worry. This is the whole reason why we ask everyone to unmute.
We are humbled. Thank you so much.
Yeah, we're really grateful. Quite unexpected as well, to be honest. And yeah, I think we're very thankful to be a part of this.
Yeah, I think everyone put up a good fight and it was a really great experience.
Yeah, we were really impressed with a lot of the other teams. We were like, whoa, everyone's really doing well.
There's no chance, but yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Congratulations. Just before all of us head out for the long weekend, I'd like to invite Mr. Chibang up on stage again to say a few closing remarks.
Yeah, hi. So, first of all, thank you so much. I mean, every team has put in an awesome amount of effort. We could tell. We looked at all the pitch decks. We looked at all your presentations. We listened to your, your stories, the problems you want to solve, as well as the all the amazing, thinking going behind the demos that you built. So first of all, thank you very much for putting in that much effort. In Amazon, we always believe, nothing goes away without you learning something about what you've done. So really, really want to congratulate all of you for having done this. And I know it's been a long couple of weeks for you guys. Have a good break. Next 3 days will be I think a good time to chill, unpack, and just relax. So thanks for all the good work. Well done.
Thank you so much. And just before we conclude, please again make sure that all of your cameras are on, because I'm going to take a big group photo to commemorate this session. So Min, Steve, Quinn, Heng, please open up your cameras. And then on the count of 3, let's do a big cheers, big thumbs up. 1, 2, 3. Great job, everyone. Congratulations to all the finalists. On behalf of Agorize and AWS, thank you so much for participating. I hope you had as much fun as we did. Have an amazing long weekend, and we hope to see all of you again next year, and the winners during the final event next week. Have an amazing weekend. Thank you.
Thank you.